So today's video, we're going to talk about how delaying gratification is the key to anyone starting a service-based business. Before we dive into it, like always, if you get any value from this, please share, like, comment. I'm trying to grow this show. I want to help as many people as possible in the service-based business field. This shit is not easy. We have to do this together. I'm trying to deliver as much value, and I hope you do get value from this. And if you do, share. We're trying to grow it. And also give us comments. I want to continue to evolve the show. I want to help as many people as I can because I know this journey can be very tough. So let's do it together. So what are we talking about today? We're going to be talking about strategic risk-taking, what that means. We're going to be diving into the specifics of it and how you should be looking at it as a whole, as a small service-based business. Because the reality is, once you go into business, you're taking a risk. But you have to make sure there's strategy behind it. So that's what we're going to be diving into. We're going to be talking about how do you create a long-term plan and how you can create long-term thinking and how to foster that, because a lot of people think very short-term. How do we create this long-term process and really put our ideas out for long-term gratification rather than right now? We're very conditioned to think short-term. It's in our DNA. If you guys have heard of the marshmallow study, I'll talk about it briefly. And this is just really to give a story of how important it is to start thinking long-term. The marshmallow study was a study that was given a while ago. And the premise was they put these kids in a room and they would sit them down and they would put a marshmallow in front of them. And they said, hey, you can have this one marshmallow now and satisfy that urge to have sugar or to say you want to take it. Or you can wait 5 minutes and we'll come back and we'll give you 2 marshmallows. Then the person in the room would walk away, walk outside the room, and they would observe the kids. What they found out was that the kids who ate the marshmallow right away compared to the ones who delayed to get the 2, they follow them throughout their life. And the ones who actually delayed to get the 2 were more likely to be successful in business or in their life. Crazy that you're equating this to a marshmallow, but that's the reality. And it shows you that delayed gratification is the answer. Don't jump for what feels good now. Plan for the future, prep for the future. So for me, an example would be, I'll talk about obviously my first business, my first love, Iron Health. We're at 4 clinics now. Now, I knew when I was going into this that this was not going to be an easy process. I've seen a lot of people start and fail businesses, and I was like, I'm going to do it. Fuck it. So what I did originally, no shortcut. I found a place to rent a space, and I put a table in a gym. During that process, I was like, okay, you know what? This may not work, but I'm gonna go all in on it. To make ends meet, I was working in an old age home to make sure I can pay my rent. That's the reality. Now, I knew planning this ahead that it was going to be 3 years before I could even pay myself to actually make a living. That was the reality. In my head, I went and I said, I'm giving this 3 years of just making ends meet, not making any money, because I know at the end of 3 years, if I'm not successful, then it's not going to work. So I committed to at least 3 years. And truth be told, it took me 3 years to actually start paying myself. I hired multiple employees and paid them before I even got paid. Yes, it's fucking crazy, but it's the reality. If you want to be successful, you have that burning desire to be successful, you're going to delay that gratification. You're going to make sure other people get fed before you get fed. And that's the sad truth of a business owner too. So that's a side note. If you're a business owner, sometimes you got to feed everyone else, take care of them. That's your responsibility before you feed yourself. So during this process of initially starting Iron Health, I had this long-term vision of like, hey, we're going to really build something that matters. I want to build a PT clinic where my mom could go to because I know there's a lot of shit out there. And that's what we're doing. We have 4 clinics now. We're going to 11. I'm set on that vision. Until this day, if shit hits the fan, I will not pay myself before anything else, because I'm delaying that gratification because I know I'm in it for the greater good, right? I'm in it to build something that actually matters. You got to foster this mentality if you want to create something. If you want to just be a solopreneur, that's fine too. Like, it's very different. But if you want to create something that matters, you have to make sure you're putting in that delayed gratification for the success in the future. So how do we do this? How do we go about creating delayed gratification? It's really the hardest thing, right? First thing I'll start with is you can learn this. You don't have to be born with this. Like if you think of yourself and you say, hey, when I was a kid, I would have been that eat that marshmallow now type of person. Just know you can learn to be long-term thinking and strategic. It's a part of it. Everything we're learning. So the first thing, how do we set this plan in motion? Start with a 10-year plan. I know it sounds crazy and it's a stretch, but if you can't paint the picture 10 years from now, how are you going to get people to be on board to help you get there? It's just not going to happen. You as the owner, you as the person who's creating this vision, creating the company, you need to have a 10-year plan and you need to have it all mapped out to the specifics. I remember I would actually visualize myself in an office and like, oh, this office is going to open here. I'm going to open there. I'm going to do this there. I'm going to have this many employees. And slowly it started to come true because I'm creating that plan, that long-term vision to make sure I'm delaying that gratification so I can succeed on it. How do you write this 10-year plan, right? Sit down and truthfully, you can do this for your personal life too. But if you're doing it for your business, sit down and say, dear, and put your name. It's 2033, 10 years from now. This is 2023. This is where you are in your business. I would say write down how much money the business is making every year, how many employees you have, how many facilities you have if you have a brick and mortar place as a service-based business. What are your biggest hurdles still now? And then what is your biggest accomplishments? Writing that 10-year vision now is going to help you get there. And it's going to help you when you're sitting home saying, shit, how am I going to make payroll? Because you have that 10-year vision in mind. That's what you need to have. That's what you need to rely on. Now, you can go into personal too. I would suggest you do a little bit of personal, like, hey, where do you live? How's your house look? This way you can actually feel the positivity of it as well. But set that 10-year target, make that your delayed gratification. Secondly, you want to get used to delayed gratification. So what do I mean by that? Challenge yourself every day. And how do you do this? If you know that you are someone who likes sweets like I do, I can't have sweets in my house. But if you're someone who likes sweets, put cookies on your table at home and challenge yourself to walk by them every day. And say, you know what, I'm going to set a goal and I'm going to eat those cookies on Wednesday, or I'm going to eat one cookie on Wednesday and it's Sunday. That way you're starting to foster this delayed gratification. Right? Instead of you going and reach, I bought the cookie Sunday, I ate the whole box on Sunday night. Now you're fostering this delayed gratification. You're saying, I got these cookies, they're sitting on my desk. I know on Wednesday I get to eat one. You're creating it. It's like a muscle. If you don't pump this muscle, it's not going to work. That's a simple way, but you can actually use that in other ways as well. Just use the concept of delaying that gratification to be successful there. Start with your personal life. What do I mean by that? And delay gratification, or really creating that. If you don't want to just jump into your business life of delaying gratification, start with your personal. Or if you don't have a business yet, start with your personal. Like, what ways do I feel like I want something? Am I not going to take it? Because I want to work on this muscle of delayed gratification. The cookies is a good example. Maybe it's, working out. Food for me is a good example because I love food. It's like, okay, I need to eat healthy to make sure I'm at peak performance. I need to delay the gratification. Fitness is the easiest example that you can leverage and use because fitness does not show up today. It shows up 6-7 months from now. So just start using that. Start using your fitness. Shit, I'm along that journey too. I'm using my fitness knowing that in 10 months from now, what I'm putting in today is going to show up. Challenge yourself that way. And it's funny because fitness now is like, oh, you don't have to be fit. Fitness is the quickest path to know that you can delay gratification because someone with muscles at the gym didn't build it over a day. And accept that you have to be consistent, right? Delay gratification, being strategic thinker, you have to be consistent with these things. What do I mean by that? Do you have time set aside to actually start thinking strategy in your life? What do you want to accomplish? How are you going to get there? How are you going to do it in your business? And then you do that on a repetitive basis. I've seen a lot in my life, people have these specific things where they're like, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z today, but in a week from now, they forgot that they talked about that last week. Then it's gone. You're wasting it. You got to be consistent with everything you do, and you got to hold yourself to that standard of consistency. Taking risk is a part of any business, right? It's part of life. You don't go through life without any risk. It's the reality of it. So you got to focus on making sure your risks are strategic. Don't just take risk and shoot a gun off in the air. Plan. Be systematic. Set time aside. Actually write down everything you're thinking. Weigh your pros and cons. Do not get caught on the pros and cons. Execute. That's another aspect of this. Don't be one of those people that say, I'm going to do this, and then you never do it. Have a strategy set in place. Make sure you take action on that strategy. Course correct as you go. So if you got any value from this, please like, follow, subscribe. Let us know what you think about this content. Thanks for watching.